Okay, we are going to solve quadratic equations by factoring in this video. We want to apply that zero product property that we worked on or that we saw in our last video. So that means we need to set our equation equal to 0. We have in part A, x squared plus x equals 42. What we want to do is get everything on the same side. So I'm going to subtract 42 from both sides. And I'm going to rewrite the equation. X squared plus x, that minus 42 is just going to go on the end and it's going to get set equal to 0. So we want everything on one side, 0 on the other side. Now we're going to solve by factoring. So we're going to factor this. When we factor, we need to look at what our a value is. Our a value is a positive 1, so this is our easier factoring. We can look at our c value, what are factors of negative 42 that add up to positive 1. And you can list all your factors. If you're able to think through them and get them a little bit faster, you might say, oh, how about a negative 6 and a positive 7? Negative 6 times 7 is negative 42. Negative 6 plus 7 is that positive 1. So once you find the factor pair, let's go ahead and factor it. We're going to have x minus 6 times x plus 7 equals 0. So we have one factor of x minus 6 times another factor of x plus 7 equals 0. Anytime that you are multiplying two things together and you get 0 as an answer, you can apply the zero product property and set each factor, not a, that's supposed to be an x minus 6 you set equal to 0, and x plus 7 you set equal to 0. Solve each of those, we would add 6 to both sides, so we're getting x is equal to a positive 6. Here we would subtract 7, and we're getting a negative 7. So these are our two solutions when we solve the equation. If we were to graph this, those would be our x-intercepts, or the zeros of the graph. Okay, let's try one more, solve by factoring. We do want everything on the same side and 0 on the other side. And just, if you guys are solving by factoring, my advice, it's easier if your x squared term is positive. So I want to leave this 2x squared on the left side so that stays positive, which means I'm going to add 9x and subtract 5 to get those to the other side. So we're going to add 9x to both sides. I'm just going to write it all out at the same time. We're going to subtract 5. Our new equation is 2x squared plus 9x minus 5 equals 0. Okay, I'm going to show you both ways of factoring, the guess and check and then the grouping method. So guess and check, you can jump right to your parentheses. What goes in the first spot has to multiply to 2x squared. Well, that's not a lot of options, just 2x times x. What goes in the second spot has to multiply to negative 5. So you can do 1 and 5 or 5 and 1. What you want to think about is, let's think through it and understand that our check, multiplying the outside and inside terms, we have to end up with that positive 9. So that makes me want to put the 5 over in this second spot so that it multiplies with the 2. 2x times 5 is 10x, which means I'm going to put the 1 there. 1 times x is x. It is a negative 5, which means we need either the 1 to be negative or the 5 to be negative. So which of these should be negative? So we end up with a positive 9x. And if that x is negative, negative x plus 10x is positive 9x. So I'm going to make the 1 negative and the 5 positive. All right, so that is factored. It's equal to 0. We checked it. We're showing our check right here. I'm going to pause on that, and I'm just going to show you the grouping method of factoring, just so that if that's your method of choice, we kind of are understanding how that works. So when you do your grouping method, you have to do a times c. So your a is 2 times negative 5. We have negative 10. So we're looking for factors of negative 10 that add up to positive 9. Factors of negative 10 that add up to 9 would be negative 1 and positive 10. So what we do is we rewrite this and we are replacing the positive 9x. So we're going to write 2x squared minus 1x plus 10x minus 5 equals 0. Now that it's 4 terms, we're going to group the first two. We're going to factor out the GCF of x. Leaves you with 2x minus 1. Middle sign just carries down. And then a GCF of 10x minus 5, we can factor a 5 out. And that's going to leave us with a 2x minus 1. Quick check, do our parentheses match? When your parentheses match, we know that we can put that 2x minus 1 in one parenthesis, and then whatever the GCF was, the x and the plus 5, can go in the second parenthesis. And then I'm just carrying down the equals to 0. Okay, we haven't actually solved anything yet. I just wanted to go through guess and check, or the grouping method of factoring. You pick the one that you are going to be the most successful with. And now we can solve. Once you have it factored and set equal to 0, each factor gets its own equation. So 2x minus 1 gets set equal to 0, and x plus 5 gets set equal to 0. And we're going to solve each of these. Here we would add 1. We get 2x equals 1. Divide by 2. X is equal to a 1/2. And then on this one, all we have to do is subtract 5, and we get a negative 5 for our other solution. On a graph, these would be x-intercepts, or the zeros of the function.